He woke up in a café, no name, no memory, no idea who he was, but the people around him. They knew, exactly, who he was. This is one of those stories that burrows into your mind and stays there. So, before we unravel this mystery, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Twisted tales like this deserve to be heard, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. He opened his eyes, the world a hazy blur of soft lighting and the gentle clinking of porcelain. The air smelled of burnt coffee and something sweet like vanilla. A waitress, her name tag reading Clara, approached his small table. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "You're back," she said, her voice a little too bright. He blinked, confusion clouding his thoughts. The words felt foreign on his tongue as he asked, "I'm sorry, who am I?" Clara froze, the coffee pot in her hand, trembling just slightly. Her practiced smile faltered. You don't remember." He shook his head slowly, a strange emptiness echoing in the vast, blank space where his memories should have been. He didn't remember his name. He didn't remember his past. He didn't remember the woman standing before him, whose expression was now a mixture of pity and something else. Something that looked a lot like fear. He knew nothing. It was as if his life had begun just moments ago in this quiet, unassuming café. The only thing he possessed was a gnawing feeling that something was terribly, terribly wrong. Just as the silence between them became unbearable, the bell above the café door chimed, announcing a new arrival. A man in a long, dark coat stepped inside, shaking rain from his shoulders. His eyes scanned the room and landed on him, narrowing instantly. The man strode directly to his table, his presence casting a long shadow. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and laced with an unmistakable hostility. He looked up, desperate for any anchor in this sea of confusion. "Do you know me?" The man let out a short, bitter laugh that held no humor. "Everyone knows you," he spat. "We just hoped you'd never come back." Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through his bewildered state. The man's words were a threat, a warning. He didn't know why, but his instincts screamed at him to run. And so he did. He bolted from his chair, knocking it over with a loud clatter that made everyone in the café jump. He burst out into the rain-slicked street, the cold air a shock against his skin. He ran without direction, without a destination, propelled only by a primal fear he couldn't comprehend. He needed answers. He needed to know who he was, and more importantly, why his return was so unwelcome. He needed to understand why everyone seemed to know him, yet looked at him as if he were a ghost they had tried to exorcise. He found refuge in a public library, the hushed quiet, a stark contrast to the storm raging both outside and within him. He sat down at a computer, his hands shaking as he typed fragmented search terms into the glowing screen. His name, he didn't have one. His hometown, complete blank. He tried every combination he could think of, but the internet offered no clues. It was as if he didn't exist. Defeated, he leaned back, his reflection staring back at him from the dark screen. An idea sparked. He took out his phone, snapped a clumsy selfie, and ran a reverse image search. And then his world tilted on its axis. His face was everywhere. Not on social media profiles or company websites, but in news articles. Dozens of them. They all told a similar story. A man gone missing months ago. But as he scrolled further, the headlines became more sinister. They weren't just missing person reports. They were warnings. One local news outlet had a bold, capitalized header that made his blood run cold. Do not approach. Considered dangerous when triggered. His face, his own face, stared back at him from the screen. A phantom from a life he couldn't remember. A life apparently filled with danger. What had he done? What could possibly trigger him? The questions multiplied, each one more terrifying than the last. He wasn't just a man without a past. He was a man with a past so dark that the world had been warned against him. With the terrifying knowledge of his own supposed danger weighing him down, he knew there was only one place he could get real answers. He had to go back to the café, back to Clara. The rain had softened to a drizzle by the time he pushed the door open again. The bell chimed softly. Clara was there, wiping down the counter, and she looked up as he entered. The fear was still in her eyes, but this time it was mingled with a profound sadness. He walked slowly to the counter, the news articles burning in his mind. What did I do? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. She stopped wiping, placing the cloth down carefully. She looked at him, truly looked at him, for a long moment. You didn't do anything, she said softly. Not in the way you think. You were brilliant, too brilliant. You discovered something you shouldn't have, and they came after you. Before you disappeared, you came here. You told us to forget you for our own safety. You said you were going to make asterisk yourself, asterisk, forget, to protect us all. But we couldn't forget. We never could. He stared at her, the pieces clicking into place with a horrifying finality. His amnesia wasn't an accident. It was a choice. A desperate act of self-preservation that had erased not a monster, but a man trying to do the right thing. Hope, fragile and new, flickered within him. Can I start over? He asked. Can I be someone new? Clara gave him that same sad smile. Only if you forget again, she said. They're still looking for the man you were. The only way to be safe is to not be him. He was left with an impossible choice: to live as a ghost with a dangerous past, or to erase himself once more, hoping that next time he would wake up truly free. Every Sunday, we tell stories that challenge reality, stories that make you question everything you think you know. If you enjoy tales that stick with you long after they're over, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. And you, whoa, I want to miss this Monday's story. The girl who remembered everything. Thank you for listening.